Hey, welcome to this week's edition of 26 Minutes with. It's the podcast that ignites the inner leader in you. And the goal is to inspire change, make an impact towards making a better tomorrow for us all. And with us is our guest this week, Michael Santonato. And he is utterly compelled to give people a true financial education and become financially indestructible. And Michael suggests we're never taught good money habits, whether it's in school or at home or at work. Yet Michael was lucky enough to have two parents, not just one, two parents that worked as bank managers. And they taught Michael all the basics, all of the essential foundations of personal finance at a young age. And as he says, it took him a long time to realize that our dinner table conversations were different from most families, Michael says. But that doesn't mean they were in the top 1% of financial wealth. It just means Michael's parents gave him a financial education, one that most kids his age never get and never ever will. And now Michael teaches and trains parents, singles, families, and business owners on everything from the tax system, investments, leverage, loans, tax credits, insurance, and how to get out of the so-called rat race, and so much more. Michael helps clients identify opportunities and fill the gap from where they are financially to where they want to be in the future. So I really encourage you to connect with Michael, and he'll really work with you to increase your financial well-being and your prosperity, and also your money mindset. So, Michael, welcome, man. Nice to see you on this. We're recording on Monday, October 2nd. It's a beautiful day here in my neck of the woods in Toronto, and you're in South America. What's it like there today?
That's right. Thanks, David. Great to be with you. Great to be on the show. Thanks for having me. It's pretty sunny. It's blue skies. It's white clouds. It's pretty nice out here. We had some little bit of spitting rain last night, but right now it's nice and sunny.
Now you're in Colombia, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And what city?
I'm in Barranquilla, which is a beautiful place where Shakira is from and Sofia Vergara as well.
Oh, my favorite. Okay,
It's a
wow.
land of hot weather, dancing, and lovely people.
And how many people live there? Just out of curiosity. How big?
That's a good question. The population of Colombia as a whole is about 52 million.
Mm,
Barranquilla is not the most populated city. I think this city has maybe 4 million or 3 million. I think
okay.
less than that actually. But Cartagena is right next door, a 2-hour drive away.
Yeah, so that's where things really happen. But 3 to 4 million, that's like, the size of Toronto pretty well, right? Or
Something like that. Yeah, Toronto's growing, right? If you look at the whole GTA, it's like closer to 5 million, and then Barrie's just, an hour away. There's another what million or
yeah,
half a million in Barrie or more.
it's getting there. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So you're writing a book. Why this book on money? Why now? Especially when the uncertainty in the economy is running rampant.
Yeah, it's a great question. Nothing really makes sense right now.
Mm,
I'm always doing research. I'm always reading books and watching documentaries and piecing things together. And things right now don't make any sense. Gold is down, stocks are on their way down as well. Interest rates are up, oil is going up through the roof, housing's going up, but interest rates are super high. And, so the markets of real estate wise have cooled off, but prices are still high. We're overdue for a recession. We should have had one, a major one with this global pandemic we had just a few years ago. We didn't have any major recession. We should have had a major global recession. We didn't have anything. So things don't make sense right now. And there's never a bad time to learn more about money. There's always a great time, no matter what time it is in the markets or in your life to learn about money. The earlier, the better, the younger, the better, because then you can form great habits. But this is a book that I think has to come out It's got to be written. It's never been described this way in this kind of topic before. How to become financially indestructible. I'm really excited about it
Yeah.
because there's 5 ways to become financially indestructible, and we invest in all kinds of different things if we invest, and none of them often lead to becoming indestructible, but they should.
Yeah. And that's the title of the book. It's being financially indestructible. And you said there's 5 methods to doing it. What
That's right.
is it that we need to be mindful of as far as those methods go? And you also answered my other question, which is, can we start at any age?
Yeah, you can start at any age. Obviously, the earlier the better. The earlier everything, the better, right?
Yeah.
I was watching a lot of Mr. Beast videos. He's the most popular YouTuber on the planet. The guy's probably already a billionaire. He's going to be a billionaire. He's got a hamburger business. He's got a chocolate bar business, and his YouTube channel, which he started super super young as a teenager, his audience is so vast and massive. His videos get 180 million views. He can do anything with that kind of audience. He can do anything with that kind of pull, you know? So the younger, the better. Yes. So if
Yeah.
you're a parent listening to this, share this information with your kids,
Yeah. Get
learn
them
this information for yourself
right.
and pass it on to your kids.
Yeah.
So your question about what do we need to know what we're investing in? Well, the average person invests in their pension, invests in mutual funds, invests with their bank. But the thing is if you're in America and you're listening to this, major banks, 3 major banks this year have already gone bust and bankrupt.
Mm.
And with that entails years of collection process for individuals who've lost their savings and pensions and investments. It's going to take years for the receivers to do their jobs and give that money back to the people who had their money in those banks. So banks do go bust, banks do go bankrupt, and your money is at risk, and it's not indestructible left in the hands of the bank. I love Robert Kiyosaki, father of Rich Dad Poor Dad
Sure.
education system,
Yeah.
and I've been quoting him for years where he says savers are losers. And what he means by that is if you're just saving your money in a bank or in a GIC or under the mattress or under your pillow, you're losing money, right? Every year, inflation for the last 60 years has been 2% annually every year for the last 60 years. Now, that's before this phase of hyperinflation we're in. Right now, we're in hyperinflation. And I saw that coming. I did a video on hyperinflation coming a couple of years ago on my YouTube channel. And I saw that this was coming. Gas is up, housing prices are up, interest rates are up, food prices are through the roof. People's mortgage payments have gone up 20%, 30, 40, 50% even in some cases. Why? Because of inflation. So we're in hyperinflation right now. So your money needs to be working faster than the rate of inflation. It needs to be growing at a rate faster than inflation. So these 5 different ways to become financially indestructible, they do 2 things. They grow, right? They have a good ROI, but they have the ability to withstand government regulation, government intervention, market manipulation, and industry changes,
Mm.
thus allowing you to be in control of your money as opposed to leaving it in the hands of someone else at a bank where it's at greater risk.
And what are the 5 methods? Are you at liberty to share, or do you?
I'm not going to share them because that's reserved for the book and the backers of the book and the backers of the project right now. There's a great group of people who are backing the project, backing the Kickstarter campaign to raise funds to have the book made and edited and help me, discover if there's interest and people are, seeing value in this topic. So what I can say is that these 5 methods are unique. They're different. They're kind of radical. They're simple, but the difference is that these are asset classes and assets that people neglect and kind of take for granted, the average person. What I can say is that the wealthy 1% who I study all the time, they have invested in all 5 of these asset classes. And they continually invest and reinvest in all of these asset classes because they know and they believe that the one thing money is good for is making you more money. That's what money is really good for, is making you more money.
Right. Why then aren't financial planners, banks, sharing this kind of information out with those that they're working with?
Yeah, that's a great question. banks make money on loans. Banks make money on their own products. You know, sometimes I look at a portfolio for a client, whether it's their retirement portfolio or their investment or savings portfolio, and oftentimes they're invested in investment funds with banks that those funds are invested in their own products. So when I look at or I analyze a fund, oftentimes 40%, 60%, 50% of those assets are that institution's own products and assets, which really isn't diversification at all. And it's like they double dip on their fees that way, so they benefit twice as much or more. And they also have the ability to bundle and bunch together products that don't diversify at all, don't even provide a great ROI sometimes, but they make more money.
Yeah,
So there's money in money, and banks are not in the business of losing money. They're in the business of making money. So
right.
they double dip and triple dip and buy and invest in their own funds all the time, just because they think it's solid. But that exposes the investor to systemic risk and institutional risk.
Yeah, and then they're also playing with your money as you're sleeping. You know, if you're saving it at the bank, they're playing with that and reinvesting it.
That's right. And
Yeah,
they give you 1 or 4% on a GIC, uh, or a CD. In America, it's called a CD,
yeah.
certificate of deposit.
Mhm.
And they give you basically, 1 to 4%, but they make 20% on minimum, right? Or they make infinite returns because it's not even their money they're using your money.
Yes, and then they're lending it out at a much higher rate of interest these days, as it,
That's right.
with inflation. You know, Michael, there's so many books and there's so many money experts touting that they have the answer, and I find personally like all these viewpoints are a bit confusing. You got, as you alluded to, Robert Kiyosaki of Rich Dad Poor Dad, but then there's Brian Rose from London Real in the UK, American born money manager. He's touting, Bitcoin is the way to go. Do you dump your shares and buy metals, or
Yeah.
so what are some maybe good short term and then good long term strategies to keep in mind?
Yeah. There's two really great different kind of conflicting viewpoints on this.
Mm,
Warren Buffett says diversification, right? And that's to eliminate risk. That's to spread risk out and eliminate risk,
yeah.
right? Most financial advisors and people talk about diversification. And I do agree with that because it's safer. And that's why people do it, right? Money loves to be in the company of other money, generally where it will be safe and it will be protected, you know? And the other viewpoint is that of like Mark Cuban. I love Mark Cuban. I love Shark Tank. I love his entrepreneurial spirit, love who he is, what he does, and how he shares with the entrepreneurs what he shares. And with Mark Cuban, he says diversification is for idiots. He said diversification is stupid because what he's saying is by diluting your efforts, then you're spreading yourself too thin, and you should go all in on something you really believe in. That's what Mark Cuban says.
Mm,
Warren Buffett and so many of the other people say diversification is for safety. Now, what's funny is, everything is like fine lines. I like examining the fine lines because there you find like the subtle truths and the deeper wisdom. Mark Cuban, his own portfolio, he's invested in so many different companies. He's invested in sports, he's invested in technology, he's invested in food, he's invested in um, fintech as well. And so he's also diversified because he's interested in these different things and he invests in these different things. What people have got to do is find out the simplest strategy that will work for them, that they can trust, that they can rely on, that will produce a good ROI, that has the lowest amount of risk as possible. So I don't recommend mutual funds but I love segregated funds because segregated funds are backed by insurance companies that work the same as mutual funds. However, they have three guarantees wrapped around them. So it's like a mutual fund, but wrapped in an insurance contract where you're protected from creditors, protected from bankruptcy, protected from maturation as well. You get a maturation guarantee as well. So it will mature at after 15 years or at 15 years or upon your passing. So if the market dips and your investments have dropped and you've passed away, then the insurance company still guarantees your full principal or your full investment. And there's a lot of other cool things you can do with it, like reset and increase the guarantee and stuff like that. So protection and becoming indestructible, becoming financially indestructible means eliminating as much risk as possible. There are many times where I will vet for a client an investment because somebody's pitching them $2,500 or $5,000, or $1,000. Should I do this? Should I do that? And I take the time to vet the program and look at it, weigh out all the pros and cons, and then I let them make the choice. But the thing is if there's too much uncertainty, I don't recommend it. If there's a great deal of uncertainty, I don't recommend it because it takes many hours to earn that $2,500 or that $5,000.
Hmm.
And once you spend it and you lose it, you can't get it back. It's like time. You can't get it back. Money can always be remade, but for an average person who works, 40, 50 hours a week, 50 weeks out of the year, and they net, 60 grand or 40 grand after tax, that's a good chunk of change that, you've had to spend your life working for that you should not have to lose, that you should not put at risk.
Yeah. And these days, again, with taxes and inflation, there's not a lot left at the end of the day. So you really need,
Taxes, yeah.
yeah,
Canada's a very highly taxed country.
right.
Citizens are highly taxed, 30, 40%. Plus, then when you go buy things, another 13%, you know, depending on what province you're in. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, inflation is at an all-time high. I don't know how they can say they want to get inflation under 2%, and they're saying it's 6 or 8% when gas and people's mortgage payments have gone up 40%. 30%. Food costs have gone up 30, 40, 50%. How can inflation be 8% or 2%,
Yeah. And
something's
does
off.
are one of the five methods addressing this dilemma that we're finding ourselves in?
Finance is a proactive game. That's one thing I've been saying a lot recently. So it's about being proactive. So today's impacts for people that are feeling today's impacts on a negative level, that's because we were not proactive enough in the past to anticipate this from coming, you know, and we didn't do enough about it beforehand. That's why I'm in Colombia right now. I left I left Canada 2 years ago because I saw that hyperinflation would be coming. I saw that, Toronto's a crazy high cost of living city to
Hmm.
live in, and the government was going to do all these weird, funny things, and things were going to get pretty strange, which they did, and they still are in Canada.
Yeah, you're right. We're with Michael Santonato, and we're talking about his forthcoming book called How to Be Financially Indestructible, and the five methods to do that. This is your first book. What have you enjoyed so far about writing it?
This is my first book on money and finance. Yes, I did write previous books many years ago in a previous business that I was in. This is my first financial book. I actually started this book in COVID, wrote about half of it, and then just pass the time. A lot of people were writing books with all that spare time we had in COVID
Yes.
during the lockdowns. So I picked it up again, and I'm looking forward to finishing it. What's exciting is you know, what's exciting is the large amount of knowledge and information that you can pull from so many sources and plug that in and put that together like a puzzle piece into a book that's a finished product that, will teach a lot of people and do a lot of good and hopefully stand the test of time.
I like to the fact that here you are, you do, financial planning work with your customers and clients, but you're really a student of the game. If you look at the field you're in, how many people in the financial services field are really studying the game? And you've got a real broad base that you're drawing from. Warren Buffett, Mark Cuban, Robert Kiyosaki.
Mhm.
What would you say? Are other people in this field doing the same kind of research you are? Do you feel?
I don't think so. I know for a fact that I study the wealthy more than most financial advisors. I know that I'm very fortunate because I got that solid foundation from my parents when I was young, right? my parents being bank managers, they just taught me all the fundamentals at a very young age. So I have that, fantastic background to draw from. A lot of financial advisors are just selling products, especially at the banks. The banks have financial advisors too, but they're really salespeople for the bank. You know,
Mm.
they change every 6 months. They get moved to a different department. They get moved to a different branch. So customer walks in, where's Jeff, my financial advisor? He's not here anymore. He got promoted or he moved or he left or whatever. That's really unfortunate. So the massive advantage I have is the amount of time that I spend with my clients, the amount of education that I focus on, that I give, because teach a person to fish and you can feed them for life, right?
Yeah,
As opposed to just giving someone a fish, then you feed them for a day.
yeah,
So my advantage is my passion for finance, my ability to explain concepts that are complex at a bank pretty simply to the average person. My strength in communication skills is what my clients have told me. That gives me an edge, that gives me an advantage, but I really deeply care and commit to the well-being of my clients as opposed to it being very transactional. There's always something that I'm sharing, that I'm giving, that I'm providing to my clients that they just, won't get at a bank or somewhere else.
yeah. That's I feel that is a big differentiator, the fact that you're really knowledgeable about your craft, and you're not just a pitchman or sales rep for the organization you're working with. You're
Yeah,
giving your
thank you.
clients, the very best. You
I'm a
know,
broker as well. Being a broker, I can go to, this bank or that provider or that company, or the shopping around for 10 or 20 different companies makes it really fantastic to find the best rates, products, benefits, and services for the clients.
yeah, you're not married to anyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, in your marketing of the book, you alluded to it earlier. It's a fundraising effort as well. You're using Kickstarter, a Kickstarter campaign to help make it happen. How is it working so far, and what would you like to see have happen? I know I pitched in, so I think I'm waiting for my copy, and so how's it working
Thank you.
so far? What would you like to see happen? What have you learned about this methodology of marketing?
Yeah. Thank you. It's a great question. And I love that you supported the campaign. I love that you ordered the book, David. Thank you so much. It's like anything, it's a campaign, it's a bit of a marathon. What makes Kickstarter unique is you have 30 days to raise the amount that you set within the 30 days. And if you don't raise that amount or meet that goal in the 30 days, then you don't get a dime. So I don't get a dime unless we hit the goal, which is fun, exciting, and kind of scary all at the same time. So what's it like? It's a marathon. It's a push. Everyone's attention is being sought after these days. It's the highest value commodity is people's attention. So um, I think that it's scary, it's fun, it's different from Indiegogo or the GoFundMe, for example, where no matter what, any donation, any dollar someone gives, the person running the campaign gets it. Kickstarter's not like that. It's an all or nothing play. It's more risk. It's more fun. It's more exciting. It's more, high stakes. And we basically hit like 20% in the first week. There's 3 weeks left, 3 weeks and a day, I think, left. And we're kind of in that like middle point now where it's like, not the middle, but the beginning where it's like, okay, we've got to keep the steam going on the steam engine, otherwise it'll die down. So every day I'm sharing content and ideas and concepts, and I'm doing a series right now on all the amazing things that I've learned from different books that have benefited me, that have helped shape my success and my client's success and the book as a whole. So we're doing that daily, every day. So it's constantly, just putting the awareness out there. Like this interview. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Well, you and I, so you know,
We
it,
go back a long time, man.
we do. Um, yeah, it's almost scary, like when you think about that and you go, man, that's a lot of time has passed,
Yeah.
on our journey. What have you learned about yourself doing this? Like what have you learned about yourself taking this sort of Kickstarter campaign on, developing a book, putting yourself out there? What have you uncovered? What have you discovered about, you know, your heart,
Hmm.
Michael Santonato? What have you uncovered?
That's a tough question, David. That's a good question. That's a tough one. Definitely, I'm very humbled and very thankful for my network of great network of friends, acquaintances, and close friends and far friends. People, what's surprising is the amount of people that kind of come out of nowhere and will donate to the campaign and the cause because I haven't spoken to them in years. They just came out and supported what I was doing. I learned that I'm really blessed and fortunate with a wonderful network of family and friends, and acquaintances and people that will stand by you and support you in things that you do if you just push the button and hit launch and put it out there. Um, I've learned that every journey starts with a single step, and just hitting launch was kind of a victory in and of itself because I've always wanted to do a Kickstarter. I've always loved the platform, the idea of the platform. I root for the other success of other campaigns. I've backed many campaigns, and I've always wanted to do a Kickstarter, and I have put this project off like 3 times. So the fact that I'm even doing it is a big deal and is kind of a success in and of itself, something to be proud of.
Yeah. Yeah, because you're overcoming your own fear, really. It's like, what, or the demons. Well, what if it doesn't work out? Oh, who needs another money book? All those little doubts, and it's like, okay, thank you, I'm
Right.
moving. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Um, for those reading it and contributing to the Kickstarter campaign will give them access to the book. What will shift for them about their money beliefs and habits, Michael?
Yeah, that's a good question. There's a bank in Canada that has a slogan called "You're richer than you think." You
Yes.
know, Scotiabank, everybody knows it because they they
Mhm.
they they sponsor the movie theater, so you always
Yes.
get that message in the movie
Yeah.
in the movie theaters. I think that's one thing that people will be surprised of is they'll be surprised of how it doesn't matter how much you make, but how much you keep that's important.
Hmm.
That I've got a whole chapter just dedicated on that. It's not what you make, it's what you keep that counts. Because in this world, you can make $1 million a year and spend $2 million a year. You can do that in this world today, whether in America or Canada. And so what counts is how much you keep. That people will be relieved and they'll be, I think, set free by that realization. And I think they'll find a lot of freedom and liberty in no longer comparing themselves to others, because we're always
Yeah.
keeping up with the Joneses.
Yeah. Because you don't know what's really going on.
You never know. Somebody could be making $1 million a year, but spending 2 million.
Yeah.
In the book, I tell my own story of how I made 1 million, lost 1 million, and I'm making my next million. That's in the book as well. So learning from my successes and my failures will be refreshing and fun for people. I think they'll really enjoy that because you kind of feel better about your own situation when you see the misfortune of another situation. So when they realize that I had 1 million and I lost 1 million, they'll be quite relieved and they'll learn from that and how not to make those same mistakes, which is a big reason why I'm doing the book.
And it's funny, like a lot of these experts you're talking about have all lost, like Robert Kiyosaki went bankrupt in his early days, I think a couple of times. And then finally, it turned around, right? With the Rich Dad, Poor Dad book, and of course, Cash Flow, the board game.
Yeah.
Anybody else influence you to write this book? You mentioned Mark Cuban, you mentioned Warren Buffett, and of course Robert Kiyosaki. Any other influences? Like, did your parents sort of say, "Yeah,
My
Michael, like
parents,
go," or
yeah.
certain
My
friends?
Yeah, my parents absolutely influenced me to write this book. I'm really quite happy to write it thanks to them as an homage to them and all the wisdom that they taught me and all the knowledge that they taught me. Also, my clients really inspire me. I have a lot of great clients all over Canada and America. And one of my favorite closest friends work and are clients, basically, Alex and Mariana. They moved to Italy and they took their 2 daughters and they lived by the sea. And this was a dream of theirs when we started working together 5 years ago. So in a span of less than 5 years, they were able to go from totally clueless about money and finance to having plenty of assets and savings to having no debt to their mortgage pretty much being paid off, turning their house into an income stream and a business, finding remote jobs where they can work online, leaving their careers, leaving their 9 to 5s and raising their kids in Italy, living by the sea. This was just a dream of theirs. So that inspires me. They took pretty much every piece of wisdom and education I gave them they asked a lot of questions. They wrestled with it. They grappled with it, and we had to talk for hours and hours and hours happily over, coffee and espressos and beautiful lasagna and spaghetti and things
Oh
that they
boy.
made for me. Oh my gosh, just delicious food, just delicious meals and food and conversation. And they grappled with it, but they challenged themselves to learn and implement, and they did it. And they are where they are now because of that. So I think they inspire me, people like that.
That's beautiful. I like that story, and I like the fact that you're, here's how you do it, and they did it in 5 years, which is really incredible, right? Because
Yeah,
that kind of wholesale change in your life circumstances, you know, in my mind, oh man, that would take forever, but you got it done in 5. I also like the fact that you're sharing your own misfortunes, so now it's relatable. It's like, well, and you're indestructible because you didn't let that destroy you. You're bouncing back, and you're going to create your next, few million, which is great.
that's right.
Last question. Well, almost last question. What are the gaps in other money books that yours will fill?
I think the simplicity of it all, the relatability of it all, I'm a human being. I was raised in Toronto, Canada. I speak, pretty much to anyone and everyone in any financial situation. I think that makes me really relatable. That will be refreshing for readers. The fact that I'm just, human being like them. Um, the fact that I've lost the million, made the million, that will make it relatable. I think that'll be refreshing. And also, I think just the fact that I'm still going, I'm still learning, I'm still growing. I've got so much to share, but I've got so much further to go. I've got so much more to learn as well.
Yeah,
The real life examples that I give in my own life of many different investment successes and failures will be enlightening to many people as well, and hopefully prevent them from making the same mistakes.
yeah. And I like the fact that you've alluded to your parents being influential. Your dad just turned 85 in the summer.
That's right, exactly. My dad's 85, my mom's 78. They're still, thank goodness, alive and well and kicking and healthy, and
And then helping you out, giving you more
they
advice.
still give me advice. That's right. I still call them all the time for advice. I call mom often because dad's usually is very, very critical. He starts with criticism. Mom's a better listener, so kudos to all the moms out there
Yeah,
who are great listeners.
yeah, you get a little earful from your dad. What are you doing writing a book? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, get a job. No, I'm just so the book, you got chapters about money, how to talk about it, not. That's a big problem. A lot of us say I don't have enough. Change that languaging. Making money, where and how. It's not what you make, it's what you keep. Um, then the financial house, getting that in order, products and services to look at, investing, and the rat race cycles and their patterns, and bonus chapters. And it's, yeah, now it's like, okay, what do we reach you to contribute to your Kickstarter campaign and get our copy? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, if you're frequently on Kickstarter, then you'll find it. Just search how to become financially indestructible. Kickstarter is a really great website to be inspired about exciting projects that people are working on, whether it's art or books or inventions or gadgets or even culinary tools, cutting tools, or computer games. People are making all kinds of things and putting them out there on Kickstarter for, them to come to fruition. So that'll be exciting. So you can go to Kickstarter.com and search financially indestructible, or just my website, michaelsantonato.com. And we've got straight links directed to the campaign right there.
Excellent. And it's Santonato, and
That's
then
right.
that's the last name in Michael. The book is called How to Become Financially Indestructible. Master the 5 methods to become financially indestructible by implementing the step-by-step strategies in your book. Dude, this is great. Thank you for doing this with us today, and I wish you much success and health, and an invite to visit you in Colombia.
Thank you, David. Yeah, I look forward to seeing you. Thanks so much for your time.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, Michael.
Have a
That
good one.
was our guest, Michael Santonato. He joined us from his home office in Colombia. And you've been listening to 26 Minutes With. It's the show that is really about inspiring you to lead and to, bring in change and make a positive impact so we can have a better world for us all. I'm David Cohen, your host. We'll be back next week. We're looking at health, from a different perspective, different methods to achieve remarkable health. And with us will be Dr. Mark. He'll be joining us next week. And in the meantime, like us, share it, and tap into our links below if you're on YouTube. And if you're not on YouTube and you're on like Acast or Spotify, just our website is yourbigventure.com. And then you heard if you want to get in touch with Michael Santonato, his website is just his name.com, and look for his Kickstarter campaign on being financially indestructible. What a great show. Thank you all for listening. Michael, again, thanks for being a great guest today.
My pleasure, David. Thank you.
Cheers.